Dear Symi participants, I'd like to welcome you all to the Symi Symposium. A warm welcome, first of all, to all those who are with us online via Zoom, but also a warm welcome to those who could make it here to Lagonisi in person, despite the many obstacles, both because of COVID and the different bureaucratic procedures that have created lots of obstacles for travel. When we first organized this symposium on the island of Symi, some 23 years ago, we brought people together from many parts of the world, but in particular from this region, the Balkans, the Mediterranean, a region divided by the Cold War, but also by ethnic conflict and proxy wars. We felt the need to communicate, to understand each other, to listen and respect each other's different views and needs, to build bridges and overcome the walls of stereotypes and animosity. Our spirit was to develop a sense of common belonging, a common roadmap of shared values and shared societies, as Zlatko always likes to say. Actually, it was a time when the European project was building momentum towards a major enlargement. There was expectation, there was hope, there was excitement. I think very much like when you decide to build a new house and you sit around planning how it might look, how we will design it, how we will make it sure that all will be comfortable, taken care of, and live peacefully together. Over these 23 years, our Symi Symposium did not try to come up with political platforms or political statements. Rather, we enjoyed the sincerity and depth of the debates, the personal networks we created, and the spirit of newfound friendships. And in particular, the friendships our families and many of our children developed with each other. It's this spirit that keeps us meeting together every year. And it's this spirit that must be kept alive in these very trying moments for all of us. Last year, however, was an exception because there was an urgency, a sense of urgency of the situation. And we decided to write up a declaration, a Symi declaration. In this declaration, we dedicated the symposium to Julian Perry Robinson, our friend who passed away from COVID and participant and partner to Mary Calder, and who left us a roadmap for global cooperation in the form of his lifelong work to rid the world of chemical and biological weapons. And we also highlighted what we felt were the priorities and challenges this pandemic revealed. I just quote some of the things we said last year. COVID-19 has exposed a world of inequality, division and polarization, but it also opens up the possibility of a world of caring and humanity. The plight of the COVID-19 pandemic is particularly devastating in areas where people live in extreme poverty and in conflict zones. Together, we must tackle the root causes, such as climate change, poverty, inequality, alienation, undemocratic practices, discrimination, demagoguery, racism, and violence. There are no contradictory loyalties here between local, national, or global levels. We are all in this together. Instead of working against each other in the global marketplace, we must combine forces, design a global response to save lives and prevent future pandemics. Equity, internationalism, and humanity should be at the heart of the global pandemic response, preparedness, and prevention. We must organize, work together around these principles, and create a movement of movements for humanity. So, we said that last year, but it's in the same spirit I welcome you tonight. As this year, the 23rd Symposium of Symi, as you heard, coincides with the celebration of the 200th anniversary of the beginning of our liberation revolution, and it's dedicated to the universal messages of freedom, democracy, revolution for dignity that it represented. As always, we hope to enjoy the beauty of this spot, but also conduct in-depth discussions on these new challenges we all feel in this world, we all face in this world, as well as so many of the leaders that are with us and how we will all deal with these issues. how we will deal with the pandemic itself, how we will confront the growing inequalities and the accumulation of wealth in the hands of the few, how we will use technology for the good, the public good, and not for the surveillance state or the surveillance capitalism, how we will develop our health systems, our education systems to deal with this different world, make sure that our citizens are truly citizens capable of dealing with new crises. But also how we'll promote, and this is the major transition that we in Europe, but around the world are talking about, a sustainable and green development model. I'm glad Jeff is here, Jeffrey Sachs, who has been a fighter for this for many, many years. But I also want to welcome a friend from all the way from San Francisco, George Jacob, who has been working a lot on aquariums and the sea issues of environment. Welcome, George, to our family of the Symi. But I finally believe that the big question that we have to deal with is how we defend and even expand our democracies, our democratic practices, and our institutions. I say this, first of all, because we are facing the greatest transition humankind has ever attempted, a global transition to a green economy. Many believe we need a more top-down, even authoritarian approach to be effective. Others want to delegate authority to the technocrats. Others believe that market forces will come around and save the day. But I believe these would create a dystopian world where technology will be used to control citizens, and ultimately we'll have more power than us humans. I believe that we have to make this transition together, inclusive, participative, educative, owned by our societies and our citizens. If not, we will never make the transition effectively, and we will end up in conflict because of scarcity of resources, extreme weather, huge population movements, and much suffering. But in particular, it would give the opportunity to demagogues, and we've seen a lot of them around the world, to push us to see each other as foes rather than friends, with these demagogues leading the way in creating fear, despair, promoting conspiracy theories, and polarization. So either the transition to a green economy will be equitable, cooperative, and democratic, or it will not be at all. So we hope to discuss these great challenges that are already affecting our lives, but also the revolutions we must make to face them. How we become agents of change ourselves rather than the victims of crisis. And there is an opportunity, maybe this is the first time in human history also, that we all around the globe have an alive and at the same time experience, common experience. I don't know if that ever has happened before. We've had pandemics before in the world, but never have we had the possibility to see each other around the world experiencing the same difficulties or hopes or crying or music or songs of optimism or whatever at the same time, and understanding that there's such a common humanity. So this is, I think, an opportunity we need to grasp. How we become agents of change. And in this context, how we can give vision, hope, and perspective to the future of Europe. And actually, the EU now has built a unit on foresight, which we will contribute to. But we will also analyze developments in our neighborhood, the Balkans, and the Eastern Mediterranean. Recently, we have discussed many of these issues and their impact on democracy in the context of the Council of Europe. The idea of democracy has been particularly challenged in this pandemic era. A number of governments have been obliged to take extraordinary measures in order to be able to mitigate the pandemic. But other governments use the pandemic as a pretext to reinforce their power, silence their opponents. Celine, my good friend and colleague from the CHP, she's only last year, I think it was, you were elected Secretary General to the Socialist Party of Turkey. Welcome, and you and your family. She has written a report on this, and we'll be discussing it in one of our panels. And I'm sure you'll contribute in many other areas too. And of course, Despina Hadjivasiliou, Despina here, who many of you met last year here in Lagonisi, was recently elected as Secretary General of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. Congratulations, Despina. We're very proud of you, of course, and thank you for being with us today. Despina, of course, has followed these important debates on democracy and, of course, will enlighten us with her thoughts and experiences. Another fighter for democracy has come from Venezuela, Leopoldo Lopez. I remember during the times of the Greek junta how my father and all of us who helped with the resistance fought to find support around the world. Leopoldo has been jailed, now living in exile, and we are fighting in the same political family, the Socialist International, fighting for a progressive vision of his country, of your country, Venezuela. Unluckily, bureaucratic procedures do not allow him to be here tonight, but he will be with us tomorrow with his wife Lillian, a fighter herself, and of course we do have dear Ambassador Isidora Zubillaga with us. Finally, we in this region, and we have many friends from our region this year. I also want to recognize our two friends from North Macedonia, Radmila, Nicola, welcome again. We know what it is to live under authoritarian or dictatorial regimes. We know how democracy is fragile and how demagogues and the alt-right are undermining democratic institutions. So that's why I'm happy that tonight we will have a voice of another fighter for freedom and democracy, who has suffered personally under oppressive circumstances. So I welcome Albin Kurti, him and his family, again with us this year, whom I want to congratulate as he was elected, since our last Symi, as Prime Minister of Kosovo. Congratulations, Albin. But before giving the floor to Albin, again I would like to thank warmly the region of Attica, the Athens municipality, the Voulavari and Vouliagmeni municipality, our accommodation partner, the Grand Resort of Lagonisi, where we're staying, and all our sponsors and partners. So again, welcome all of you. As you know, those who are here have been here for many years. Please, as we say, hug. I don't know how much we can hug with COVID, but anyway, hug our newcomers, welcome them, part of this great sort of very personal and informal but deep discussions we carry on with each other and friendships which we develop. And I wish you a very good symposium, a good time, and hopefully some really good ideas that will come out of this discussion. Thank you very much, and Albin, the floor is yours.